Hey, One More World Entertainment, and out of nowhere, Chris Pine has been asked about a potential return as Captain Kirk in their Star Trek 4. He shut it down, which makes absolute sense, but this article didn't seem to get the memo. So we're going to have a look at it because it's just like, how did you not know that Allison over at Paramount and Skydance has already said they're going in a completely new direction? But let's have a look. So, in 2009, J.J. Abrams' Star Trek received a cinematic reboot that defined how a generation views the franchise. It starred Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Zoe Saldana, Carl Urban, the late Anton Yelchin, Simon Pegg, John Cho, and returning cast member Leonard Nimoy. The film spawned two sequels, Star Trek Into Darkness in 2013 and Star Trek Beyond in 2016. A fourth installment was originally planned, but it languished in development hell for almost a decade. Wrong straight away. It did not languish in development hell. The problem was that they wanted to bring back Chris Hemsworth as well to reprise George Kirk. The contract that Hemsworth signed and Chris Pine signed were for X amount of money. New people took over at Paramount. You know, they became the new heads of Paramount and tried to renege on the contract. They told Chris Pine and Hemsworth, yeah, we know you have contracts with the company for this amount, but we'd rather you take a massive pay cut. And they said no to that. So that's what happened. It was the fact that they wouldn't pay the cast what they were owed. So when asked about Star Trek 4 at the Sundance Film Festival, that's as in now, Pine wasn't particularly optimistic about reprising the role of Captain James T. Kirk, where he said, "You probably know more than I do." As for what guidance he has for the next Enterprise crew, there's no indication that'll be an Enterprise. Pine added, "Advice, have fun, good luck, live long and prosper." This response is a marked departure from Pine's prior stance on Star Trek 4. As recent as 2024, the actor was enthused about the prospect of reprising Kirk. Pine reiterated that the cast members all like one another a lot and have a great time doing it. Moreover, Pine found the idea of playing an older Kirk almost a decade later intriguing because of how it could affect his arc, where he said, "I'm a lot older now, so I would be curious where that next story lands us in terms of what it would be and what we've said in the press," he concluded. Don't get that part where he says what we said in the press. So in addition to Pine, Quinto, who portrayed a young Spock, has said he is open to it, noting that despite their universe starting with the leads as younger iterations, there's no age limit on Star Trek, where he said the original cast did movies for decades, well into their 50s and 60s. The stories might be different, we might not be running as fast on the other planets, but I think anything's possible. I think there's nothing more fulfilling as an artist than to come back to something after time has passed and cultivate a relationship with it from a completely different perspective and a completely new point of view, he concluded. Despite Pine and Quinto's willingness to return, Star Trek 4 is looking less likely as years go by. Again, the issue is with Pine in particular was the pay dispute. By the way, none of them are on contracts anymore, so that's all null and void, but they also didn't want to take the pay cuts. As for this person writing this article saying, Star Trek 4 is looking less likely as the years go by, well, it's completely done because David Ellison took over, turned around and said, okay, one of my priorities for the big screen is Star Trek, as well as Top Gun and other stuff like Transformers and Ninja Turtles. But his plan moving forward, and I believe he did put down the date for 2027, I think, is when he wants the new movie out. He flat out said, we are going to do a brand new movie that is not connected to any previous movies from the past or recently, and none of the shows previously or recent. It was going to be an absolutely brand new take on all thing Trek, which also moves into supposedly going into the TV, which we'll get to now in a second. So it also says in November of 2025, a new Star Trek film was reported in development, but this project would be another reboot, existing outside the Abrams films. Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daly, who coincidentally collaborated with Pine on Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, are set to write, though no further release information has been shared. Though Star Trek 4 is effectively dead, the franchise is so expansive that this cancellation doesn't mean Pine and Quinto will never return, be it in film, animation, or one of its many series. So again, this is just someone hopeful that they return. They're not going to return. They're never returning. And they're not going, especially if the next movie actually does incredibly well and it relaunches more Star Trek on TV. And what I mean by that, I'll get to now in a second, it means that, yeah, they're definitely not going to go backwards and go back to the stuff that wasn't working. Because none of the JJ movies actually ever made money. They cost so much to actually make and promote that none of them actually ever made money. So, what I mean by new series and stuff is the fact that we've now been hearing that the reason David Ellison hasn't just come in and straight out cancelled all things Kurtzman Trek is that in Kurtzman's contract, which does run out this year, has it that all of his shows must be released first. Problem is, they've only 2 shows left, and that's season 2 of Academy, which season 1 is now airing, and Strange New Worlds, which only has 2 seasons. Well, a season and a half left. You have season 4, which is a full season of 10 episodes, and then season 5, which is only 6 episodes. So that's it. Because you've noticed as well, nothing new has been announced. There's been no talks of his contract being renewed. Nothing else. And one of the issues that Ellison has with Kurtzman is that Kurtzman, when Ellison took over, tried to gain full control of everything Star Trek, including movies, but more importantly, including merchandise. And that's something J.J. Abrams attempted with the movies. Was when he brought in Bad Robot, they wanted all licensing for toys and merchandise, all merchandise. And the studio gave them a little bit, but not full control. But Kurtzman wanted full control of everything, and he was told no. But the fact that David Ellison has said that this next movie, which will have no connection to any previous Star Trek, it'll be a full-on reset for everything, that he hopes that will lead into new shows as well. We don't know what direction they're going in terms of, will it be on an Enterprise? If it is an Enterprise, will it be like the first Enterprise? Will it be a completely different? We don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But the idea of Chris Pine coming back, he shot it down to say, yeah, it's not happening. It will never happen now. And why would it happen? But what do you guys think? Would you have liked to seen what they kept calling a Star Trek 4, which still to this day pisses me off to no end, because we already have a Star Trek 4. Guess what? It's called Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. So, would you guys wanted to have seen more Chris Pine and Quinto's outings as Kirk and Spock? Let me know in the comments. Or are you just happy that they're moving off in a completely new direction? Let me know. And with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So do like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Hit the hype button, check out memberships, you know the drill. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.